welcome back to my design channel. In my last video, I worked through showing you guys how to create these peyote bands. And hopefully you have 2 of them made if you're planning on making the bracelet that I'm working on. I was going to set those aside for a minute because today I'm going to talk about how we're going to fill up the center. So in the first video, I showed you guys that one band's going to go this way. This band is going to go this way. So I've come up with my concept finally, and I'm getting ready to work on it. What I'm going to do is teach you guys how to make this shape, and then we are going to connect it with these tile beads. So all you're going to need are some Superduos and some check glass tiles. So I'm doing a related post, of course, over on my blog for this entire project. And it will tie all together over there as well. In the post for creating the component that we're working on today, I will include the instructions for making a complete diamond shape like this with your Superduos. But for now, I want to show you guys how to make this without the diamond shape without the 2 side ends. So the first thing you can do is put a stop bead onto your needle. And we're going to only be working with Superduos right now. And I'm going to go ahead and use these beautiful frosted opaque lime green color here. And I tried to pick some colors that match up to the beads of my peyote band. Unfortunately, the beads that you see here, this green mix here is out of the Poppy Fields mix. Actually, all of these beads right here are out of this Superduo mix called Poppy Fields. I get them over at AC Moore. And you can get the whole 24-gram tube for roughly $6 unless you catch them on sale. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is pick up 2 Superduos, and we're going to let them drop down to the stop bead. We're coming out of the bottom hole of our second Superduo we picked up. We're just going to take our needle and we are going to pass through the top hole, kind of pinch those beads so they don't come sliding loose away from the stop bead, just like this. Now they're going to sit kind of funky at first, and it doesn't really matter because once we close the beadwork in this small loop, it's going to pull everything together. So now we're going to pick up 2 more Superduos. We're going to let those drop down. We're going to do the exact same thing that we just did. We are coming out of the bottom hole of that second Superduo we picked up. So I want you just to pass through the next hole of the same bead. Going to kind of pull your beads so they're, line up a little tightly. You don't want any big loose gaps. Now we're going to take our needle. You can see this is where I started from because there's my stop bead. I'm going to pass back through that same Superduo I started from the side my tail thread is on, through to the other side. And I'm going to pull gently and slowly and pull it all together until I have my little diamond shape. But now to close that beadwork, I need to come back through this Superduo here on the bottom hole. So I'm going to come right back through that Superduo. And then, still holding my beads together the way that I want them to sit, I'm going to pull gently again until I have my beautiful little first diamond shape of my Superduos, just like that. So we have the option. We could start building out from right here, but it's a little bit loose still on the center stringing of our beadwork initially. So what I like to do is go ahead. We're coming out of the bottom of this hole here. Let me zoom in. I want you to take your needle and pass through the top hole and then pass through those next 2 Superduos through the same holes that you originally went through. You can flip the beadwork over to make sure you didn't miss any of your beads. And then just pull that all the way through. And now I'm going to flip my work over so that it works towards my dominant hand, which I'm left-handed. So I want my work this way, which works out easier this way. Alright, so now we're going to work our first bead. I'm going to pick up a Superduo and let it drop all the way down to this beadwork. I'm going to hold that new Superduo so the open hole is facing upwards and away from us. I'm going to take my needle and pass through that open hole right there. I'm going to pinch those beads once again because I don't want my beads to slip away from my base unit down here. Snug it up if you have to, just like that. We're going to pick up another Superduo, and it's a good idea to make sure both of your holes are open and you don't have any clogged holes. We're going to pick up that next Superduo, and we're going to pass through the top hole of this Superduo at the tip of our existing diamond shape. Now, pull that through. So now we are on this side of the beadwork, to the right. You may be on the left. This time we can go ahead and pick up 2 of our Superduos. Checking your holes to make sure you don't have any clogged, with this type of coating on the Superduos, you will find that it's notorious to find clogged holes. So make sure you check. Alright, so we're going to pick up 2. We're going to let them drop down. So once again, we're going to work with that second bead we picked up. I am coming out of this bottom hole here. I'm going to take my needle and pass through the top hole of that second Superduo I picked up, but just that one. I'm going to pull my thread all the way through. Pinching my work so I get it as tight as I can. Now I can take my needle and just flip this other one up. Just like this. And you can see where we're going to go with our needle. We're going to come to this Superduo, which is on the far side of the right side of our original diamond. We're going to come through that top hole. Just like that. And pull it through. Now, we are coming out of this top hole of this Superduo, and we want to be coming out of when we're coming to the outside of our beadwork through this hole. So all we have to do is take our needle and go through, just like that. On the same one that we were exiting from, we're going to go right straight through the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this work again. And it's going to look exactly the same as I did a few minutes ago. We're going to start by picking up 1 Superduo, checking the holes and dropping it down. Coming out of the bottom hole, I'm going to go through the top hole. Pull my thread through while I hold on to that bead to keep my beadwork in shape. And keep my beads snugged up to the previous beadwork. Okay, so now we can pick up that second Superduo. I'm going to check the holes and pick it up. Now I'm going to come through, I'm going to move this tail thread. I'm going to come through the top hole of my point bead. This is from this original unit I started with. I'm going to pull that in. Now I can pick up my 2 beads because we can work 2 beads in to complete what we were working on the other side. So we're going to go ahead and pick up 2. Check the holes. I'm going to let them drop down. We're going to flip that bead around. The second one we picked up, which is closest to our needle, obviously. We're going to come through the opposite hole of that Superduo. Just like that. I kind of got mine out of whack, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. So once I get that bead into position, I can flip this one up out of my way. And I see that I'm going to be coming back into that Superduo right on the other side where my tail thread is here. I'm going to come back through the bead that right there through the top hole. And I'm going to pull, pull, pull. And I'm going to snugly pull and make sure that all of those little beads on my diamond or on my diamond shape are sitting nice and snug. So now I'm sitting right here where my tail thread is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that stop bead off. And I'm going to tie a double knot between my working thread and my tail thread right there. Nice and gently making sure that your knot doesn't get flipped over on the opposite side of your beadwork. Just tie 2 little knots, just like that. And let's take a look at where we are. So here's what we're working for, and here's where we are. So we need to add a tip bead here and a tip bead here. Sorry about that. My thread is exiting right here. I'm going to come through the next bead, just like that, on the bottom. Now I'm going to pull all of that in, and I'm going to cut my little tail thread out of my way. So now you can see I'm exiting this bead. I'm going to sew up through that same bead I'm exiting. My tail thread is exiting this, my working thread is exiting the bottom of this bead. So I'm going to go right straight through the top of that bead in the opposite direction. Then I am going to pass through the bottom hole of that next Superduo straight on the diagonal like I was stitching. We'll pull that through. And now I can come through the top hole back in the opposite direction. And I'm in position. So I'm going to pick up a Superduo, make sure my holes aren't blocked. And I'm just going to just sew through the top hole of the very next Superduo across. So now I've got that bead in place. So now I need to stitch down to this side. I am exiting from this top hole. As you can see, the only place I can go without creating exposed thread is through the bottom hole. And while I pass on through that bottom hole, I'm going to go through the top hole of the very next bead. I'm trying to go slow enough, guys, so you can see these thread paths. Alright, so now I'm going to hold my work like this. You can see I'm exiting the top hole here of this Superduo. I'm going to pass through this hole, going back in the opposite direction, and try to get my needle through that next Superduo at the same time. Just like that. Pull it through. Now I'm exiting from the bottom hole here. I'm going to go up through the other hole, plus the next Superduo, just like that, on the diagonal. Now I am exiting from this bead right here on the top. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come down the opposite bead. Actually, I'm coming out down through the same bead on the opposite hole, plus the next bead on the bottom hole like that. It's just diagonal stitching. I hope I'm not making it sound too complicated. And so now that I'm exiting the bottom hole of that Superduo there, I can just come right through the top hole and add my last bead. So let's pick up the last bead and make sure to check the hole. And we're going to come right through the hole on the bead sitting opposite. Just like that.